Hey everyone, what is good? Welcome back to the channel. This is Silver Hyena and my noisy chair. And for today's video, well, okay, first to recap, I have swatched out the Derwent Inktense colored pencils. And how did all this cat hair get on them already? Okay, anyways, if you would like to see the first video, I will have a link in the description below, and also one of those little eye bubble things should be coming up any minute now, so keep an eye out for that. But instead of using the Artistico paper for the final illustration to really put these babies to the test, I am going to use some Artistico Fabriano. Now then, this is 100% cotton watercolor paper. This was something I got for Christmas last year that I'm only just now in. During the time of this recording, it is October. So I'm only just now getting around to it. Unfortunately, it had ended up getting a little bit bent in transit. There's a story behind that. Apparently, people at the post office do not know how to read because the envelope this had come in after my mom had ordered it, it had "Do not bend" written all over the envelope. And guess what the post office did? Yeah. So apparently, people who work at the post office cannot read. Anyways, let's take a look at this paper. Oh my gosh, it's like this is my first time actually looking at it, and there is definitely a noticeable crease, but it would be a crime to waste such magnificent paper. So I'll see what I can do. And somehow things got on it. I do not know how this happens. I mean, like, it has a really nice texture to it. I cannot wait to use this paper despite the little creases and everything. Who knows, once I'm done with the finished illustration, you might not even notice. Now then, what I'm going to be doing, I had showed this, or hang on, I showed this in the last video, but just a refresher. I'm going to be doing a kind of a draw this again, and while yes, I did this originally in 2018, so it hasn't been too terribly long. I love this design, and well, quite frankly, I want to draw it again. So there you have it. Now I just need to get it to stand up so that it's not flopping all over the place. Easier said than done. Give me a minute. Okay, so I have completed the base line art. It honestly, here, it doesn't really look too different from the original, other than a few things have shifted slightly, and the pumpkin is a little bit bigger this time around. However, some things never change. Seriously, just doing a little bit of line art darkening, these stupid Prismacolors, they broke 3 or 4 times. I don't remember exactly how much, but I was about ready to just chuck them in my garbage can. I was getting so frustrated. Yes, I wanted to say something else right there, but I held my tongue because I try to keep things more friendly on this channel. Anyways, enough about that. Let us dive in with these amazing Inktense pencils. Figure I want to go really, really light at first, just because, well, I'm not sure what all entirely to expect. I mean, swatches are one thing, but once you get to the actual illustration, anything can happen. So I just want to go in first with a really light wash. Just testing the waters. Haha, I know, watercolor related pun. And I'm not about to apologize for it either. Well, so far so good. It looks really, really nice. I hope she remembered a tissue this time. I'm gonna go in with a slightly bigger brush. Oh. That was weird. Did I forget to wash this brush out or something? Because it was very, shall we say, crunchy. A paintbrush should not be crunchy. Oh my gosh, if I had forgotten to wash it out after doing the first, the swatches, I'm gonna flip my lid. Not believe I neglected something like that. And with Inktense, if you need to lift up any color, better do it while it's still wet, because once it's dried, it's dry. Here, I'll even show you. These are the Inktense swatches that I had done before I started this. Look at that. See? That's not going anywhere. See, there's the, here, I'll use a side that doesn't have any color on it. See, no color is lifting up. So if you need to adjust something with these pencils, adjust it while it's wet, because once it dries, that's it, game over, thank you for your participation. Anyways, I'm going to speed things up for now, and I'll give you my thoughts either as I go or at the end. It'll really depend on how I feel when it comes time to edit this. So stick around. Now, one thing that I was adamant about while working on this piece was that I not use my inking pens on this. No Faber-Castell, no Microns, no Prismacolor, no Copics, none of that. I just wanted to use the colored pencils for the line art as a bit of a challenge to myself. Then and I also just like the softness that a colored pencil line art gives. But when you think about it, these Derwent Inktense are, well, ink. The leads, they are powdered ink. These things are really a unique experience to use because they work like a pencil, but you can tell that there is just something different when you use them. One thing I realized once I got started on this piece, despite swatching out in advance, I didn't have a purple. Don't get me wrong, the set is lovely, but there isn't a purple. However, I had a red and I had a blue. Good enough. So I just made a few light layers, and upon adding the water, the Inktense blended gorgeously. Boom! Purple! Easy! Okay, not always necessarily easy per se. Always do some tests on a piece of scratch paper, that way if things just don't work out, well, you didn't ruin your final piece. Because, well, yes, in general, red plus blue equals purple. Sometimes it's not always that cut and dry. Like, I have, particularly in acrylics, yes, I know that these aren't acrylics, but hear me out. I have thought, oh, red, blue, mix, and I get mud instead of purple. So, always test on a separate sheet of paper. I cannot stress this enough. Knowing how to blend colors on the page directly is one of the most important skills you can know, especially when you've got a limited palette. And this goes for any medium, not just Inktense, but color pencils, markers, paints of any sort. Just, especially if you've got a limited palette, knowing how to mix up your own colors is a godsend. Now, I mentioned this in my Derwent watercolor pencil video. One thing you can do is dip the lead into the water and paint/draw directly on the paper. Just be careful, since if you're too heavy-handed, you could rip and tear up the paper, so use this technique lightly, literally lightly. That was just a little something I forgot to mention in that video, so please forgive me. Do you ever get that feeling of you know something, and even though you're super excited to tell people about it, you just forget little details just because you know them and you don't think that they're worth mentioning? Post below if you do that, because that's something that I am trying to break myself of. I am trying to remember, hey, your viewers might not know everything you do, so you might want to mention these things. I'm just curious. Okay, with that being said, I do love the rich, intense color that you get when using this little trick. Also, just remember that once the Inktense dries, that's it. Done. It does not re-wet. The color will not lift. Now, when the Inktense is still wet, they'll lift perfectly fine and lovely. Now, because of this, if you decide to get yourself a set of these pencils and try them out, don't wear your Sunday finest while using them. Because with the way they stain, if it stains the paper the way it does, I have no idea how well you'll get it out of clothes. Also, probably just don't wear white. Yeah, that's probably not a good idea to wear white when using these things. So, like, you know, just put on what I like to call your grubbies and you should be good to go. Moving on, I also find that the overall color of the Inktense is so much more intense than watercolor pencils. This is also likely why there is quite a price difference. $42.99 for 12 Inktense versus $49.99 for the 36 count set of Derwent watercolor pencils. Yeah, there is quite a price difference there, so something to be aware of. But dang, that rich, bold color. Worth every penny! Now, I remember that I drew the original design here either the day before or on Halloween. I just don't remember exactly when. My original idea was a hybrid of a witch and a magical girl. For those of you unfamiliar with the term, think Sailor Moon. And for those of you unfamiliar with Sailor Moon, Google it? I'm thinking that I might do some more with this idea. Like, maybe even see if I can do a Christmas one? Oh, that would be fun. Although I just realized that I never really used that lovely teal color that I had made mention of absolutely adoring, so this means that I'll need to do another piece with the Inktense. Oh dear, whatever shall I do? Derwent Inktense lend themselves well to mixed media. However, if you plan to utilize any medium with wax, such as colored pencils for example, make sure that you put down all your Inktense first, otherwise it'll just become a nasty, bloomy mess. When it came to the highlights, again, I wanted to keep it to pretty much just using the colored pencil. It gives a very nice, soft look to your highlights. I mean, like, I really like the very soft, almost cuddly feel you get from it. Now then, there were a few places where, yes, I was naughty and I caved, and I used my white gel pen, mostly for the eyes and the glint of some of the jewelry. I was really trying not to use the white gel pen in this case, but I caved. I had a slight moment of weakness and I caved. But I think it looks really good with it, so I forgive myself. I hope you'll forgive me too. Alrighty, so here we are. Successful test, I should think. I really enjoyed these pencils, and here's for that satisfying moment. Don't you just love that? And I do think that the water media helped kind of hide some of the imperfections in the paper, and ooh, this tape didn't quite do its job as much as it should have. Oh well. Like, you know what, even if it's not completely straight, perfect edges, it gives the piece character. Let's just call it that. There we go. Character sounds a lot nicer than, oh boy, that's a mistake. There we go. So whenever any little flub happens like that, just say that it gives your piece character. That would probably have more impact if I didn't have tape on my hands. And there goes my neighbor dog. Bark, 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 bark. Alright, here we go. Last one. Come on. Overall, I do like the artist tape. So there we are. I think that she looks great. Here, let me... Here is the original with gel pens and markers. And this is the newer version with the Derwent Inktense. There we go. Here, hang on one sec. Here they are, side by side. Post in the comments, which one do you like better? Do you like the older one that I did back in 2018? Or do you prefer the newer one? Me, I love them both. But post below if you've got a favorite, or if you just like them both, or... yeah, whatever. Overall, the Derwent, it was, while this is ink in the pencil, and while it operates like a colored pencil, I mean, like, it does have a slightly different effect than the watercolor pencils I've used thus far. However, I thought that these were absolutely lovely. These were really fun to use. I like them. And I would say I would give these a solid 8 out of 10. They are very, very expensive, so there is that going against them, but I enjoyed using them. So Derwent Inktense, I do think that they are worth that outrageous price if you're really, really into artwork. I mean, like, if you're more casual, you might want to hold off on something this expensive, but if you're more, if you're leaning more towards serious, yeah, I like them. I enjoyed them. Alrighty. That's all the time that we have for today's video. Remember, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Trust me, every single little bit helps. I'm almost at 200 subscribers, which might not seem like much to some, but to me that's like, oh my god, that's like super exciting. So yeah, so add to that, subscribe, like the video, and post a comment. With that being said, this is Silver Hyena signing off. Stay creative, have a happy Halloween, ignore the kids screaming in the background, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye!